see the
like that,
screens
isn't it?
behind me now?
Yes. Good. Yeah, just
Perfect.
that.
Perfect.
All right.
Great. Ready to go. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Welcome to this session here. Lots to cover. I know there's a lot of questions surrounding the accounting industry and what's kind of the next step after you all graduate. So we're here to kind of help you out with that decision and answer some questions. Quick bookkeeping stuff. So, I already mentioned before, if there is any preliminary questions or any questions that come up throughout, you can just let Cheryl know and she can put those in. We'll have some time at the end of the session as well for some Q&A. So no issues there. By way of introduction, so my name's Umar Chaudhry. I am the Director of Education Outreach at RPA Canada. So my job is to connect with all the universities and colleges, post-secondary institutions in Canada, do presentations like the ones we're doing today, and get the word out to all the students about your options as soon as you graduate. I'll hand it over to Mike.
Okay, and I'm Mike Saniga. I'm the Director of Engagement and Learning Innovation, both a CPA and an RPA. So there may be students here who are trying to navigate, what's next after your accounting education. So we'll be able to help provide some context for you. Yeah, looking forward to a great discussion. Did you want to take over, Umar, or do you want me to take over on this?
Yeah, I'll do a quick summary. So for those of you who don't know about what RPA is, so it's the Registered Professional Accountants of Canada. So it's a all Canadian designation founded in Canada. We basically, the way that RPA works is it's very small and medium-sized business focused. So we try to tailor our organization, the learning materials, the CPD, the continuing development. It's very, very heavy towards small and medium-sized businesses. So that's kind of what we do. There's a huge push for work-life balance and practical skills. So we push less on theory and more on kind of the work that needs to get done. So very tech heavy. We're pushing a lot on AI and trying to set up the tools for future accountants and making sure that they're ready for the next generation of the industry and the evolution that's happening. And yeah, that's pretty much what RPA is. I don't know, Mike, if I missed anything there.
No, I think that's great. I think what you'll find is that RPA very much is the everyday accountant. 97% of businesses, plus percent of businesses, and over 2/3 of the workforce in Canada work or are related in some form or fashion to small to mid-sized business. So there's a lot of work to be done here. I know RPA is aggressively looking for accountants to help fill the employment gap. There's a lot of job openings out there. So
yeah, another item I'll just touch on because I know, and this might be preempting a bunch of questions, and the question that we hear a lot, and I'm sure in the back of a lot of your heads is what's the difference between an RPA and a CPA? So I'll tell you the main difference is, and I can speak from Mike and I actually are both CPA and RPAs. So we're coming at it from both sides. And what I would say is the main difference is the assurance piece. CPAs can get licensed to provide assurance work. They tend to deal with largely the larger corporations out there in Canada. They'll help out with audits, review engagements. That's something that RPAs don't do. RPAs can do. We can do pretty much anything else. We can prepare compiled financial statements, do your tax planning, tax work. The whole range of what accounting is available to RPAs, and the only piece that isn't and what CPAs have is the assurance piece. So that's being able to sign off on audit and review engagement reports.
Yeah, and just a further point of clarification on that, you need another certification. You need to be a licensed public accountant. So I'm a CPA, but I'm not a licensed public accountant, so I'm not permitted to do audit or assurance engagements. Umar, on the other hand, is a licensed public accountant, so an LPA. So he is able to do those. In fact, I think it's about only about 10-12% of CPAs have an LPA. So the vast majority of CPAs do not have the ability to audit, right? They don't have the legislative ability to audit.
Exactly.
Let me slide to the page here.
So this is kind of where we start talking about, a little bit more about the accounting landscape, what's going on. We've seen a lot of the doomsday headlines of where accounting is heading in the future and how AI is gonna shape that. And it seems like, the end of the accounting industry is always 18 months away. So I was hearing about accountants being obsolete 18 months ago, and today another headline came out which they're saying 18 months. So it's always 18 months away. So the way that RPA has approached it, they've taken the stance that, AI is something, it's a tool, and it's something that we're going to embrace, and make sure that all of our members are fully equipped with all the technology that they have available at their hands. And it's only going to make your career better. It's only going to it's going to get rid of a lot of the tedious work, which none of us like doing. I'm pretty sure Mike agrees that, data entry is not fun. So we don't have to worry about that. So that's something that's going to be, handled by emerging tech, and we're happy about that. We're excited about that and looking forward to that.
Yeah.
When it comes to
Go ahead. I'll add on.
Yeah,
after.
when it comes to the actual advisory and making an impact and making human decisions, it's still going to land on the accountants, and we're still going to have, especially in the small medium-sized sector, a lot of these businesses don't have the budget for hiring an external, an internal accountant. So they need an external advisor to help them on very specific financing things, and that's kind of where we'd come in.
Yeah, it's
Right.
one of the things that I find interesting, and I've been in the industry for many moons, many lifetimes, and the amount of data that's available to an everyday business manager or business owner has exploded. Just the you've probably heard of this Moore's law, right? Where data and speed, availability of data has expanded at an exponential rate. That's a real problem for small to mid-sized businesses where, they're just trying to navigate, towards success. And with the availability of data, there are so many missed opportunities because they're small to mid-sized businesses. They don't have the resources. So they need professionals who are trusted advisors to them to be able to navigate all of this data. I always say that it's a real skill set. It's a real art to be able to sift through the data, sift through and find these clues so that you can create actionable strategies. Even as an advisor, to be able to guide your clients towards actionable strategies that support the data that we're seeing is very important. Back in the, back when I worked for Dell as an example, they were still on mainframe and, millions of lines of data. It was still all managed through Excel. Well, if I was dealing with millions lines of data 20 years ago, you're probably looking at billions of lines, billions of data points. And so you can't just use Excel anymore, it breaks. So you have to be able to understand different ways to analyze data. And that's what, RPA has really done a great job of supporting that requirement. And it's fundamental or foundational as is in the slide here. It's foundational to the accreditation. So really, if you think about this, this slide here, right? It's about standing out from the crowd. And I know there are a lot of you who are at this kind of crossroads. We hear it all the time at other colleges and universities. And um, a lot of you are probably saying, okay, well, I do well in accounting or in financial courses, right? A lot of people say I was good at math, but um, you're kind of sitting there saying, well, I'm not sure I want to be a CPA for whatever reason, right? It could be the pathway, the future pathway after graduating from Durham. It could be, the lifestyle. There's a lot of different reasons why people make decisions on that. There are many people, many people who graduated who say, I still want to do something in accounting. So they may become bookkeepers. And they decide that they don't want to necessarily go that extra step. There's a real challenge for that. First of all, there's a lot of those people. You will find that it will become increasingly constricted. So the industry, even though CPA is, kind of the mainstream accounting body or accounting designation in Canada, non-accredited professionals will find it increasingly difficult to do stuff in accounting. So Umar had talked about assurance engagements, which are audits. There are other reports that accountants do called compilations, which are there's lower risk on them. There's no assurance to the reports, but even those reports are being restricted to certified professionals. So, and those are ones where you're sending financial statements out to the bank or to the CRA or to other lenders, and non-accredited professionals are going to get shut out of that. It's a big part of an everyday accountant's job. So, being able to have letters behind your name adds the credibility that will help you stand out from the crowd and legitimize your business. There's a lot of financial professionals that say, well, I know taxation, so I'm good. Well, what about strategy and operations management? And, the one that we talk about all the time, which is the technology. How do you become the most trusted advisor to your clients or to your employer? Right? We have a lot of RPAs who work in business. They're not practitioners, right? I'm a CPA and an RPA, and I was never a practitioner. I worked at big companies and ran my own consulting firms, but not not in the traditional accounting area. So being able to stand out is a really important piece, especially in the early stages of your career, right? A lot of employers look at experience, but credentials are there as well, right? If you are light on experience, as most young people are, having those qualifications help you get to the next level.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too to emphasize here is, with the approach that RPA is taking with establishing the future ready accountant and embracing AI, this is kind of created what ended up happening when we started doing all these webinars and training sessions and whatnot. It's kind of created a community of its own, where RPA members are kind of collaborating and figuring out ways to kind of find these micro efficiencies in their work and figure out ways that they can do things faster. When it comes to accounting, the best way to kind of differentiate yourself from everyone is to get your work done high quality and with speed. And that's kind of what we're kind of training our members to excel in and really hone in on getting as efficient as possible, and then ultimately passing those savings, those advantages on to our clients or our employers or whatever it may be. So that's something that we are really, really hammering on our members. And the great thing with RPA is, once you graduate from school, the learning doesn't stop. So, you come to RPA, once you get your letters and you're a standing member of RPA, there's still continuing education requirements. And the reason for that is, things are changing every year. The way that I do my work, today is nowhere even close to how I did it last year or 6 months ago even. So, being able to constantly learn and continuously learn and improve on your skill set, is something that RPA is really proud of, and we take CPD very seriously, and we are passionate about that.
Yep. I alluded to this gap in the marketplace. A lot of people, a lot of students are saying, well, I want to find a profession where I'm, generally recession proof. And right now, accounting is in a different place altogether. It is very hard to fill accounting roles. 40% of companies are reporting difficulties in filling just internal accounting positions. And most of these jobs don't require a CPA, right? If you look at, a number of these jobs, if you're on Indeed or other job sites, you'll see that a CPA is not required, right? And a third of these employers are concerned that these backlogs relate or actually result in work-life balance issues and accounting inaccuracies. So it's very plausible that you're burning people out and still not coming to the right answer. So this is a real issue. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the amalgamation of the three accounting bodies really limited choice in the marketplace. There's a lot of students, a lot of people who were not interested in becoming a CPA, so they decided to go into take out some other path, and this has really impacted jobs out there. And RPA fills the gap. So for students, it's a viable pathway for accounting students who are not necessarily interested in a CPA pathway. It's also flexible and equitable, meaning that our prerequisite courses can be offered via university or college, full-time, part-time continuing education. A lot of our students are, finishing up. These are alumni that are coming back, and they're filling the gap through micro-credentials, as an example. Employers are loving this because it helps with increased intake. The other piece to this, which we didn't really talk about yet, is being tied to a regulatory body. And what that means is RPA has standards, right? Professional standards, codes of conduct, codes of ethics. By becoming a member of RPA, you are tied to those pieces. So that gives increased confidence in your candidate, right? So as an employer, you know that these people are tied to codes of ethics, codes of conduct. You hope everybody just follows the rules or, does things that are ethical, but being, held to higher standards is very attractive to employers and to potential clients. The other piece to this is CPD, right? So having a commitment to lifelong learning and continuous professional development, you are continually upgrading and updating your knowledge base. I think about when I finished my education, nobody from the school said, hey, it's time to upgrade because it's, 10 years old, 5 years old, 20 years old, right? Nobody's sitting there saying that. But the professional body is saying, no, you've got to keep up to date on these standards and on, things like technology. Back in in my day, we didn't use much of computers. So I know I look young, but it's one of those things where keeping up to date is going to be really important as we get into AI and continuing with AI and quantum AI now. These are really quite important to keep up to date because you're going to be passing that knowledge along to your employers, to your clients, right? And even for yourself to make better business decisions. For post-secondary institutions, the accounting department, the accounting school was historically the biggest school in the college. So, RPA helps that as well. And, there's a whole lot of different benefits to other stakeholders, not necessarily on this call. So, but in any case, RPA does fill the gap. So, a little repetitive, but, there's a lot of members or, others are stuck in theory. I think about advanced financial accounting as an example. And I know it's part of the diploma program, but in 30 years, I never applied anything from advanced financial accounting, right? It's good to know, but unless you're an expert, right, and you continue to specialize in that area, things move so fast in that area that you're probably not going to be the person they call to do amalgamations and consolidations and, foreign exchange translations and things like that, right? So we are focused on practical application, the things that you're going to be using, particularly in the SME market. Great opportunity to fast track the career without sacrificing the quality of your training. So when you look at the pathway to designation, you're looking at completing your diploma. You take about 3 specific courses, right? Depending on the school. I believe that here most of the courses are available. Taxation 2, as an example, is at Durham College, available at Durham. Data analytics is one where we would probably have you do that through RPA Learning. There's other options as well. So it's still very very doable and very accessible. There's a review portion. Once you get your courses done and get confirmation from the Society of Professional Accountants, which is RPA Canada, once you get those courses validated by the society, you are eligible to sit and attempt the mandatory professional exam. There's no tricks in the exam. But it's it's not this no-brainer course either, right? It's a professional examination. So it's 4 weekends, 1 topic per weekend: financial accounting, management accounting, taxation, and technology and data analytics. There's a review program to help you with that. Once you write that, and the pass rate is pretty high, actually. I think it's above 75% last time. Then all you have to do is get your 2 years of experience and become an RPA. So it's quick and very doable, particularly if you're a new graduate. All of that education is fresh. I recommend doing it as quickly as possible, getting the exam over with, so that you can move on, right? So the experience component as well is very flexible. So if you work in a in a accounting department at a, at a company that qualifies. You would want to, if you have questions on that, feel free to call RPA Canada to talk more about that. But really, it's one of those things where we want this to be accessible and flexible for you and your situation. So, okay.
The other thing I touch on here
Yeah.
is if we go back, or actually, we'll probably touch on this in the next slide if you go there, so I can just pick it up. So, essentially, the main kind of advantage that you'd have here, if you were to pursue with RPA is, um, as soon as you graduate, we have sittings twice a year. We have one in June and one in is it September or November, I think.
November.
Um, yeah, so you could be writing your MPEs in November if you have all the courses, if you've taken any additional courses that you need to take, and some of these are offered either through Durham or through RPA Canada as well. We do have our learning platform, so if for whatever reason things are falling short or the timing doesn't line up, you can take it through RPA Learning as well, and you could be well on your way to writing in November. You get your results in December, and then all you use your experience and you'll be an RPA. Now, if you compare that to what you might do with when I was doing my CPA, it was about a solid 2 years of schooling through CPA, a final exam, four other kind of preliminary exams. There was in-person sessions that we had to do on some weekends. And then, of course, study for the final exam, which was 3 straight days, 4 hours each. Um, and then on top of that, it was 2.5 years of experience that you needed to get, and the experience was very prescriptive and very specific. Um, so yeah, if you compare that with CPA, this is your way to kind of get into the work force and kind of market yourself as soon as possible and kind of really separate yourself from the rest of the pack. Is kind of that's the advantage that we've been seeing, especially from a lot of our newer RPA members who've gone through the process, and they kind of look at where they are in their careers and where their friends and classmates that took the other route are, and it's just miles apart. The ability to have that designation and get started and start progressing as soon as you have your letters is very, very, very important.
Exactly. Want to talk about AI, Umar?
Yeah, sure. So this is the topic. If you can't tell, this is the one I'm pretty passionate about, and I do take this to heart. Can't stress this enough. So RPA has a very solid commitment to the future. So the way that we've been able to have these partnerships, we've made very specific collaboration efforts with some of the big players. So we have Microsoft, and we've helped upskill a lot of our members on Copilot and get special sessions and special tips. We're also kind of partnering with some other industry leaders, so a lot of these guys who are kind of early adopters for AI and trying to figure out how they can implement AI into their current procedures and standards and get that going. We've had some of our RPA members have started gotten into coding as well, with AI. So, doing some vibe coding and just finding some ways to process their data and present them better. So a lot of cool things are going on. And this is kind of where the reason that I enjoy this a lot is because it's something that, the way I look at it is, imagine if you were an accountant, 60, 70 years ago, whatever it may be, and you were the first one with the calculator. Imagine how much advantage you would have compared to everyone else who didn't. And that's kind of how I look at AI. There's a lot of hesitation in the accounting industry to really adapt and commit to it. And in my opinion, hey, there's a tool that's available. It's going to make my job easier. It's not perfect. It's not there yet. But there's a matter of putting up safeguards and handling AI and handling information in a responsible way. And that's what we're exploring, and new things are happening all the time. There's been, we had talks internally about putting out an AI course, and what we found is, as by the time the course is ready, it takes 6 months to develop a course, and by the time it's ready, all the information is going to be obsolete because, ChatGPT or Google going to drop a new product or a new version. So the way that we've kind of approached it is making this kind of a continuous effort. So, like I said, we have a community where we have people kind of discussing what they're learning and how they're using AI, and we also have ways that you know we're getting these presenters in and giving us updates on the latest and greatest of what's happening in the space, and that's the real way to kind of get yourself ahead. It's hard to imagine whether you decide to go into your own practice, which is definitely available with RPA, or if you decide to go into the industry and work at a company. They're going to want to make sure that AI, and just having that, it's a secret weapon in my opinion. So that's what RPA is committed to. We're taking it very seriously. We have new announcements every week, it seems like these days, on presenters and programs and training sessions and workshops. So those are some of the things that you can probably look forward to if you were to move forward with RPA.
Exactly. So this is, this is really the time for questions, but really, starting your journey is, right now, actually. So, being in this room and learning about RPA as an option for professional accounting. How you start, apply for student membership, and you get access to resources now. You can review your transcript, have your transcript reviewed, with RPA. You probably have most of these courses. You enroll in your final courses, whether it be, I think taxation is in there, but audit one, data analytics, just looking here. In fact, I think auditing is also available, but in any case, it could be as high as 18 or 19 out of 20. Finish the courses, whatever they are, and then you prepare for the MPE. So the thing is great, to Umar's point, is how quickly you can go. If you graduate in April, you could literally be sitting for the examination in November. We've actually had some students finish their program in April and sit for the June exam, because they wanted to get through it. They were psyched to kind of get going. So whichever works for you is great, but know that there are, if you decide that you don't want to do it in June, or if November feels too soon, you don't have to wait another year to do this, because the courses are available, or the exam is available every 6 months. And that really is that is what we wanted to get through. Cheryl, did you have any questions from the floor, or?
I'm going to find out in a second. Just to clarify, with Durham, so our 3-year program, you were only short 1 credit. You have your auditing, you had your tax. The 2 years, you have a few other extra credits to get. There you go. Yeah. Thank you. You got it right there. Perfect, yeah. Michael.
Yeah. So I believe it's data analytics, right, is the only one. Yeah. Everything else is covered.
Everything else is covered out of the 3-year. So which is fantastic, especially because I've got a number of my 3rd years are here today. All right. So any specific questions that you have that I can ask? So when you're looking at this, and I can post this on the accounting stream so that you have it, here are the course codes. So you can see exactly what you've got. So like for you, for a 2-year, you've got both of these, but you don't have any of your auditing. right? For managerial accounting, you've got both of these, but you don't have your third managerial. So you'll be able to go through and check off, these are the ones I've got, these are the ones I need.
The tax portion.
And the tax, right? Because you only get personal tax, well, and if you've taken personal tax, this is tax 1 and tax 2. So you'd have, I mean, you've got ethics, you don't have business finance because that's a third year. But you've got your economics. So you've got a bunch of them. But for 2 years, you've got a few more to catch up on. For 3 years, you only have the one. Yeah. Sorry, Darren. Good. So Michael, Umar,
Yeah.
this is a question for, so you know that we have 3 programs here. One is a 2-year, one is a 3-year, and one is a transfer program. So for students that are in the transfer going over and getting and finishing the BCom at Ontario Tech, I would imagine if you majored in accounting, you would have all of this, except for maybe the data analytics, because I don't think that's embedded in the BCom at the moment. But would they just apply with their transcript and then have it reviewed kind of like on a course by course basis with the Ontario Tech courses?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think so we don't have formal sort of course mappings with every college and university yet. But in those cases, we just look at those on a case by case basis. Because it is Ontario Tech, an advanced or like an advanced managerial accounting would be the same type of, sort of mapping. So I wouldn't be too worried about it if you don't see anything on their website. So just work with the office. Actually, it'd be probably Umar himself and his group who would validate those courses.
Yeah, and I would imagine knowing the BCom as I do, it would just be your data analytics. So,
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This mapping was something RPA and Durham College did last year to make it official so that we have it. Yeah. So through RPA. So the data analytics you would do through RPA. That's an online course. How long does it take them to finish that data analytics course?
I've under a month, I think. It depends on how much time you've got to put towards it because it is all self-learning, self-guided, asynchronous. So it's all available for you at any time. I've heard somebody really aggressive try to get through it in a weekend, but it's that's tough. But still, the available information's there. So if you've got the bandwidth, you can probably get through it pretty quickly.
Perfect. Okay, what more? Completely online. And so asynchronous means, of course, that you take it at your own pace. So you don't have to wait for next week at 2:00 or whatever. You just do it through your own pace, which is why Michael was like, well, maybe a month. So it depends on how long you've got, right? Yeah.
Yep.
The practice exams, you run, you talked about review for the testing. How is that run?
So
I can touch on that a little bit.
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Umar.
Yeah. So basically what happens is as soon as you're registered for the mandatory professional exam, the MPE, you'll also be registered into review sessions for all 4 exams. So you kind of get similar to, what you have at college, you get access to a learning platform. You get some learning materials, quizzes. You're in a kind of a community forum with other writers and you can pass notes around or have questions. And there are facilitators who you can reach out to if you have questions on specific subjects. So it's kind of, something that it's meant to just kind of help you with the material and move forward. And we do have mock exams as well available for you. So, like for any mock exam, what we always say is, treat it as an actual exam. Wait till you've kind of studied as much as material as you can, and then give it a shot and see how you did and see what's going on. Our mock exams are fairly, the format is fairly similar to the actual exam. The questions obviously aren't, but the format is pretty consistent.
And it's all online self-paced as well?
Yeah, the review sessions are self-paced, and then the exam is proctored online.
Good. Other questions? Yeah. Yeah, I can actually absolutely provide that, and I can provide it on they're just asking for more information. So I can provide that on the accounting stream DC Connect, so that it's right there so that you can kind of see it. Yep, absolutely. Yep. And then you'll see you can actually become a student RPA. Like an RPA, what do you call that? RPA student? Student membership,
Yeah.
right? Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about student membership? Because they can do that now. Just let them know what that would involve and what the kind of the cost of that would be and what do you call it? Benefits that would provide for them.
Yeah, so we have the membership. So yeah, basically, if you're a student right now, you can register to become a student online. The fee is, I believe, $150. And what that does give you, so there's a couple things. So the main thing is being plugged into the industry. So we have a regular newsletter that we send out. We have a professional accountant magazine. We do have free webinars every once in a while, usually at least once a month. In the summertime, it's more just based on accountants' busy seasons and whatnot. But we have regular webinars. We have guest speakers coming in talking about what's new in the industry, what's happening. So a lot of that. You also get invited to our annual AGM as well. So it's a great, we usually do it somewhere in the GTA. It's a great event to attend and kind of network and reach out. And talk to other peers and maybe do some job hunting or prospecting if you want. And it's a good way to just kind of get an update on what's happening with RPA Canada specifically, and the industry as a whole. So lots of advantages there. You also are able to, as soon as you register, you become verifiable. So you kind of, we have call it a directory for students in RPA. So especially when you're applying for jobs and you put that you're in the RPA program, an RPA student, prospective employers can kind of go on our website, search you up, and say, okay, this is an actual RPA student, so someone who's kind of getting into the RPA program and eventually plans to become an RPA.
And now, so that third year students, so let me just kind of tack on to that. And for students who are graduating in April, becoming a student member now would only be like what, 2 months before they would actually become a non-student member, or are they a student member until they write their practical exams?
Yeah, you're a student member until you write. So similarly to CPA is a similar situation where, yeah, so when you're registering, so once you apply, you're applying as a student member first. And up until you're invited to apply for full membership, you would remain as an RPA student member.
Okay. So you could register now and it's not like not any good a month from now, right? When you're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Other questions?
Is there another different way to get the designation, like through longer work experience than just the 2 years to get credit for some of the courses that might be missing?
So the question revolves around like PLARing the courses. So in terms of, can you get work experience as opposed, so this for a 2-year student who's graduating, who let's say doesn't have tax. Can they
Mhm.
work in the tax department and then get the equivalent of the tax, or do they actually have to take the course? That's a question, right?
Yeah, so you would have to take the course. We do have kind of a matured pathway, but that's, for experienced accountants, and it's, if you have, 10 years of relevant experience. So that's kind of your workaround. You would still have to do an exam, but you'd get some exemptions on that, and you'd just be going straight into a concise exam. But like I said, there's a higher experience requirement for that. But yeah, if you fall short, and we've had this before, where some people will be applying and they've graduated, it's been a year, 2 years or whatnot, and they've fallen short. Most of these courses are available either through college, university, or through RPA learning. And we can, we take it on a case by case basis. We can work with, we talk to the students a lot and kind of say, okay, well, if you're you're trying to sit for the June sitting, you can, for example, maybe Durham or some of the continuing education schools will be offering them. So we'll connect you with them, or if it comes down to it, you can just if RPA Learning has it, you can take it through RPA Learning, and that way you don't have to worry about getting it assessed or getting a transcript assessed. We have your mark and we have your transcript with us.
One more. Thank you. Had a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, trying to go to university and also get my CPA, is this still something worth getting?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. So did you walk in a little late? I only asked because, so the question, only because Michael and Umar, both who are talking, are both CPAs and RPAs. So, right. So the question is it benefit, like the plan is, this is an embedded student who's going over to the Ontario Tech and planning to do the CPA. Is the RPA also beneficial? I mean, this is
So
great
I
because both
would,
of you are both, but.
yeah, it's a great question, and we're probably Mike and I are probably very biased in our answer here. But I think so, and it's it depends on where you want to take your career as an accountant. So for me specifically, as a CPA, I work a lot in my practice with small and medium-sized businesses, and what I found is RPA has been able to kind of establish itself as a society that or a designation that really specializes in dealing with small and medium-sized businesses. So by me having a CPA and an RPA, I kind of look at it in my head as kind of a subspecialty. So people are going to see that, okay, I'm a CPA, but I also have that specific expertise in dealing with, the intricacies of a small or medium-sized business, helping them out with their, if you're a large corporation or a small corporation, the way that you're handling your tax planning, your financing, your growth, your exit, all those things are very different. So that's kind of the distinguishing factor. So what I would say is, take a look or give it some thought into where you see your career going. And if, maybe even going into your own practice or something like that, I would say, yeah, why not go for both, in my opinion. But again, might be a little biased, but that's kind of the approach I took, and that's why I made the decision to get both designations.
Yeah. And same with me. I think, and there, there's another question that's in the chat actually that dovetails nicely into this. So, Michael asked if an RPA can also become a CFP, Certified Financial Planner, or a TEP, which is a Trust and Estate Professional. So, and the answer is yes. In fact, what you'll see with a lot of people in financial accounting, whether it be CPA or RPA, is that they this is just the first step in their journey on to lifelong learning. So we have a lot of RPAs who are financial planners, specialists in trusts and estates. Taxation is another one. Yeah, certainly these are all, they all dovetail nicely. I think it's, when you think about this, and this is a bit more career planning, but think about what you want to be doing in 10, 15 years and who you want to be servicing, if you're going to be a practitioner. So, having that CFP or the TEP designations are great, if you're going to be dealing with the consulting to individuals and small businesses.
Okay, and I think just time for one more question, and maybe I'll get yours. But Ben, you had your hand up, yeah. So, yeah, so the question was, would an RPA designation be worth more than like a bachelor degree? What's that? Yeah, I mean, you can answer that fairly quickly too, as probably I can too, Michael. But go ahead, I'll let you do it.
No, well, yeah, I think the short answer is yes. And I have always said, and you may be familiar with this other program that CPA had called ACAF, which is the Advanced Certificate in Accounting and Finance. And it was a certificate program that was tacked on to your diploma and you got this, you know, you can put it on your resume in education. What it wasn't was a designation. So if you think about just resumes, and especially as you get further along in your career, education tends to fall to the back of your resume, and your experience goes to the top of your resume. What always is there at the top of every resume is your name and your credentials and your certifications or designations. So, Michael Saniga, CPA, RPA, right? So having those designations indicates that you've met a minimum standard. You are following codes of ethics, codes of conduct. You're keeping current and updated on your continuing professional development. So you are always going to be current and up to date, as up to date as you can possibly be, right? You know, things come out every day, every hour. So, but certainly, you know, having that is, you're giving yourself a leg up on your competition, if you will.
So I want to say thank you to all of you for being on.